Hey, everybody. In this next installment, John and I are going to be talking about October and some of the things you and your ensemble should be thinking about and doing to set yourself up for success. So, John, let's jump right into it. Talk to me about October. What's happening for you in your show planning and production timeline in October?
October, things are getting very serious. Basically, we've been thinking about the show and discussing the show for a couple months now. To some extent, there should be an outline. We should have all of our sort of beginning, middle, ends. Like we know what we're doing. We picked the songs. So now it's like we got to get serious and we got to write the music. Writing music is not as simple as it sounds. Even if you pick the songs, there's a whole lot of decisions that actually have to be made. And there's oftentimes some original music, so it's not always arrangements. And then that's where things get weird too. It's like sometimes it's like I pick this song and we want to do something that sounds like this song. And then sometimes it comes back and it doesn't sound like that song, right?
Yeah.
You don't know, or sometimes it comes back and it doesn't sound like the song, but it's better, So there's a little bit of freedom, but it's definitely like we want to start writing music, opening Sibelius File and start making real decisions. All the things, picking the tempos, just getting the things going. It's crucial that it starts happening in October. And it doesn't even mean like there's battery beats happening right away. It's like we just have to start. For an ensemble, guys, usually got to start it. And then there's usually some back and forths with how I do my process before I just like jump in. I like to wait until it feels like something. I mean, I have a nice form we agree on, and then I can do, my part as being the battery arranger. But I'm simultaneously thinking about some visual things because I'm also a visual designer of my groups as well. So Sibelius File is open. It's named. We've started. We're working on like a minute of music. We got something going. Simultaneously, we've got to start ordering things. Like October's the month, and it sounds early, but it's not. And we've all been in that situation where we're waiting for our floor at the last second, or our uniforms or the props. Like currently, I have my booster parents asking me like, "What are the props? What are the props?" And I'm like, I'm not totally sure. I keep changing my mind. And my main mom's like, she's like, not happy with me. You know what I mean? So, and it's October 1st, right? I mean, it's like we've just started October, and there is an expectation on me right now that I have what I want to do with the props figured out. So that might sound early to people, but it makes sense because we want to make a plan and get the parents going and building things or paying someone to make it, whatever it is, right? Making our budgets, right? So all these things have to happen. And the uniform thing's a big thing. Like we got to get it in. And the uniform companies are great in the sense of typically they just want a deposit. They don't need all the information. They're typically not making them in October, but they want to know like how many are we looking at? Let's start getting our schedule together. And the sooner we can get our deposits in, the better. We don't have to wait. And then we know as long as we get them the information in a good timeline, that we'll get our uniforms when we want them.
Yeah, because they've got their production timelines too. And whether this is like costumes or, props or flats or tarps, whatever it may be, all of those companies have their production timelines. So the earlier you get a jump on it, the more that helps them out to be able to deliver on time. And also the earlier it puts you in the queue of receiving all of your stuff. So I know John mentioned like it sounds early, and it totally does sound early if you're not used to doing it at this point. But if you don't get a jump on it now, those are the kinds of things that make you feel like you're scrambling once you get into the season, or you're hanging your head in frustration that you're not going to have stuff by the first show. So October is the sweet time to get the ball rolling on all that, make it happen. John, what are your kind of goals by the end of the month? Like, what do you want to have done by the end of October?
I want to have a lot done, but realistically, I want to have a few minutes of music done. I want to know what my floor looks like. I want to start the conversation probably later in the month, typically, of like what the uniform is going to look like, right? But a lot of decisions are made during this time, so it's not as simple as just like writing music. There's a lot of things going on, right? Something we haven't talked about that's also super important. Maybe it's October 1st at the latest. We got to have the schedule figured out. So maybe that's a September thing, but we got to have the schedule figured out for the parents. We got to start planning. When are all these rehearsals happening? Mm-hmm. And this is a big one, right? If you're getting serious about, we're going to do a winter break camp, we're going to do a spring break camp, like any of these things or these weekends, like the parents do need to know this so they can, because they're planning their trips. And typically if we can get our schedule out early enough, the parents will work around it. But
Right.
if we don't, then there's nothing they can do. And we kind of understand that too. So that's a huge part of this, the calendar.
Yep. And certainly October is a good time to have that done and kind of finalized. At least the rough structure of what your season's going to look like. In addition to like performances, when are we going to shows? What weekends are we going to be out? What weekends are we maybe going to be dark or rehearsing? Matching that to the rest of the calendar for the music department, all that kind of stuff. This is a good time to do that. All right, John, this is great, and I'll check in with you again on November.
All right, see you in November.
All right.